Well, thanks everyone for joining. I'm Kim Ureta, and we're going to be going over essential oils for addiction and holistic coping tools. So this has been a labor of love. I've been working on the book and the online, program or course. That's what it is. It's an online course. And it's all the things that have helped me the most. And then in our weekly Monday class, I've kind of been introducing it to the participants there, and I've been getting pretty good feedback with how the tools are helping them too. So I don't know if anyone would like to share some of the tools that have really helped you the most.
Yes, what I appreciate is the Essential Emotions app, where you can get in touch with how am I feeling or what do I need to feel. Like today, I really wanted to feel courage. So it told me to have the oil Brave. And then it tells you not only the oil, but how to use it, an affirmation. So I think that Essential Emotions app and just getting in touch with how am I feeling has been one of the most significant tools for me.
Agreed. Thank you for sharing, Shannon. Does anyone else want to share before we move on? Your favorite tools that have been helping you get through? Alrighty, so I love, just like what Shannon was just talking about, I love the Essential Emotions book and then the app as well. So I recently certified as an Essential Emotions coach. I love that program. So the next time that training pops up, I definitely take it. But what we do is when we have our meetings or our discussion, people come in and they tell us what oil they're attracted to or what body part has been kind of like more present, like, oh, my shoulder's been hurting, or I have sinus pressure, or like what Shannon just said, what emotion is coming up, or what are you desiring that you'd rather have? You're like, this is like, I'm feeling like not as confident today, but I want like more courage to be able to get to where I need to be. Then you can look it up from there. So I really love this program, and I've actually weaved the Essential Emotions guide throughout my entire program in my book. So for essential oils for addiction, I mean, it's like a loaded topic. So a lot of people don't really know what addiction is. There's a lot of stigma. There's a lot of misunderstanding about what it actually is. Most people grow up with people with an addiction are they don't have willpower, or they don't have strong character, or well, they're just like their father. Or can you guys think of other things that you've heard that are like a common thing that people say about addiction? So we don't necessarily see them as like normal people. It might be like second class citizen even, or like a homeless person, like a troll guy, like guy with a paper bag under the bridge. Like, so people are less likely to say they have a problem because they don't want to be associated with like these like second class citizens, or like people that live on the street, or someone, you know what I mean? So when I first realized I had a problem, I was 16, and my family knew I had a problem. It's my loop of addiction started with food. So I had bulimia and anorexia, and it's just where you think that you can control something, and then it controls you. That was my first experience. And generally, people going through an eating disorder, they will jump to another addiction. So it could be shopping, it could be gambling, it could be sex, it could be alcohol, it could be drugs. So I jumped to sex and alcohol, and that became somewhat manageable for a few years, and then it would obviously pop up once in a while when it was like a binge thing. And then like people in my life knew kind of what was going on. But what addiction is, it's a threefold addiction, threefold disease. I wrote it down. So it's a physical allergy, it's a mental obsession, and it's a spiritual malady. So in the big books of Alcoholics Anonymous, there's two guys that wrote the book, is Bill and Dr. Silksworth. And Dr. Silksworth, he has something called the doctor's opinion. So you can Google it, the doctor's opinion. It's really interesting for anybody who is just getting into recovery and they're feeling like a lot of shame and a lot of hurt about what's happening in their life. And they don't understand, they still have that judgment like, oh, I just don't have willpower, or I'm just a weak person, or something along those lines. You read that doctor's opinion, it completely changes your point of view. This was like in the 1930s, and he proves, this is, well, actually it gets proven much later in science, but he writes in there that this is a physical allergy. So the difference is so say we're all at Thanksgiving dinner. So there's like, so say I'm the alcoholic. No one else there is. We're all eating Thanksgiving dinner. Everybody eats until they're full, to the point where they're like, okay, I'm full. That's it. I'm done. Right? Your body tells you I'm done. So you stop. So somebody like with an addiction is going to go, I'm just getting started. That's the difference. So you've all seen it when you go out for drinks with somebody, and most people are going to have two. And then they're like, they get the signal in their body that says, I'm done. They start to feel a little sick, and they go, I'm going to start to drink some water. That is not true for an addict or an alcoholic. They go, what do you mean? I had 2 drinks in my room and now I'm down in the hotel lobby. Like, you know what I'm talking about. So it's actually something that happens in the pancreas. There's this sugar thing that connects to the brain. And then they have actually found different scientists. I can find the study for you guys, where the scientists, they were doing autopsies on some bodies from like homeless people from the street. They thought that they were doing an autopsy on somebody with a drug addiction.
Why are you being ignorant?
The chemistry. Let's see, I'm going to mute. If you hear sound on your end, try to mute it. So they did the chemistry in the person's brain, and they thought that it was a drug addict, but no, it was a wino. So I just thought that was so interesting, that what people believe and what is true. Like, obviously there's some Darwinism going on, like if your parents and their parents and their parents had an addiction issue, it's still going to carry on genetically. But then if you had a traumatizing experience, during your formative years, or your parents had traumatizing experience and they imprinted that on you, now it's like you're a loaded gun. You've got the genetics, now you've got the mental obsession, and all you need to do is not have any trust in a higher power. And then you've got a spiritual malady. So it's 3 things that really make a loaded gun for somebody to have that kind of addiction that other people just can't understand. They're like, why can't you stop? You have a family. Why can't you stop? You're going to lose your job. Why? You know what I mean? We start having those questions. So I just really wanted people to understand that it is not a willpower issue or a lack of character. It's people that are genetically predisposed to keep going. And then how we can dig ourselves back out is, well, for one, a person has to be ready. So for me, I mean, you got to hit rock bottom, and hopefully it's not going to be like people have to keep digging, where they have to get 5 DUIs, they have to go to prison sentences, or, in and out of, hospital situations. But for me, all it took is I needed to spend the night in jail. One night of jail did it for me. And It was so terrible and so awful and so embarrassing. I've been teaching natural health for, oh my God, since 2007. And so I know a lot of people. So I go into like the jail here. I know all the cops. I know the guy who runs the jail. Like, I'm like, this is so embarrassing. So I'm just really glad that I can bring these tools and share what really, really helped me. So a person has to be ready and willing. That's number one. So if you're thinking to yourself, oh, I've got this person I really want to share it with, make sure that like you're planting seeds. They may or may not be willing to hear it, you know. They just have to have gotten to that point. The pain of continuing the life they're living versus the pain of not. So for me, thank God, the pain of continuing in my addiction cycle was way too much that I could handle. I needed to quit. So that's a huge blessing. So what I have found in attending Alcoholics Anonymous and Narcotics Anonymous and Adult Children of Alcoholics and Codependence Anonymous and Recovery Yoga is that how people can actually recover and have a good life is if they can identify what they're feeling in the moment. If you can identify what you're feeling and then know what your action steps are going to be. So if you can break that cycle. So I've talked to people that they are white knuckling it. So say maybe I've got a year sober. And I'm like, well, what are you doing to take care of yourself? Well, I don't take the drug. I don't drink the thing. But you can see that they're not expanding as a person. They don't have community. And they really haven't changed anything else. That's the kind of person that's going to relapse. Because all it takes is them to get overwhelmed and not understand what they're feeling and want to go back to that original pattern of, well, how do I make myself go numb so that I don't have to feel these things? So generally it's being raised by somebody who was either an alcoholic or a drug addict, or their parents were. So they would say, so say I'm a little kid and I start crying. They say, well, you're going to need to go to your room. And when you're done, you can come out. Or you can't get angry like that. Or, telling children not to feel, basically, to stay a perfect little child doll. And I see that a lot. I know that I did it a little bit to my kids, that, if they made me uncomfortable, then I wanted them to go away. And that was teaching them their feelings are wrong and they shouldn't feel. So what I'm doing to fix that is to explain, when you start crying, you say, well, it's a good thing that you're crying right now because it's going to relieve your stress. You're going to feel better afterwards. Because that's what when you cry from frustration and sadness, it's relieving your stress. So that's what I tell my kids now. And if they're angry, I'm like, well, this is good. It's teaching you what's important to you. So what is it that you're mad about? Then we'll know, okay, then we need to honor you. What's important to you right now? Did you feel like I didn't hear what you said? You know what I mean? It's anger is for self-esteem and for boundaries and for protecting yourself. So being able to understand, like, what do my emotions mean? Well, first you have to know what you're feeling, and then what do they mean? So how we can soften the blow of going through this process is using our holistic tools. So like healthy movement, like yoga and walking and breathing, and our essential oils and journaling. So I'm going to show you guys what I did. If you have some oils around you, this is what I recommend you do. I'm going to show you how to make your own protection, your space, defining your boundaries. So take an essential oil. I've got a bottle of Balance here. I'm going to put a couple of drops in my hand. Whatever oil is closest to you. Make sure your feet are nice and planted. We're going to rub our hands together. By doing this, we're drawing our energy back to ourselves. You can't think about the past. You can't think about the future because you're right here, right now, inside your body. We're also activating the molecules of the essential oil that's crossing into our blood-brain barrier. And it's helping to balance the chemistry in our brain. So getting that cortisol, stress, adrenaline down and serotonin back up. And we're going to take 4 deep breaths. So one thing that they talk about in the serenity prayer, it's actually very interesting. They say, God grant us the serenity to accept the things we cannot change, the courage to change the things we can, and the wisdom to know the difference. The things we can change is us. The things we cannot change is everybody else. So defining our boundary means we're understanding that this is me, that is them. So what you do is you just run your hand over your skin. This is if a person, I would call this a relapse intervention. If somebody is in a moment and they're like, I feel kind of wild right now, like I don't know what I'm going to do with this. If you rub your hands over your skin, it reminds you, okay, everything inside of this body is mine. Everything outside of it is not my problem in this moment. Then we're going to imagine that we are the yolk inside of an egg. And you're going to draw an imaginary boundary from like 5 feet above your head to 5 feet out around your body. And then 5 feet under where your feet touch the floor. This is your perfect little eggshell boundary. So that when you need time to just collect yourself and find that center and breathe, and you go, okay, this is me. This is what I can control. I can't control anyone else. Let's go inside the egg, take the oils with us, and breathe. And that's something that can be taught to a child too. This is essentially somebody having a moment and they're wanting to go back to their drug of choice. They're basically like back to when they were a kid in that moment. You can see the kid in their face. When you've seen somebody struggling, they don't look like an adult in that moment because they are the kid that's struggling. So that's one tool that I highly recommend as an intervention. Something that I find very important is having a vocabulary list, and you can download it off of Carla McClellan's website. I just bought one from her. I think it was like $1, but they call it granulating. When you can granulate, break down like the grains of a sugar, when you break down, so you start with the top one. So this group is called anger, apathy, and hatred. Those are all really broad emotions, but when you break those down even smaller and you build that vocabulary in your mind, then you'll be able to say exactly how you feel. So soft anger and apathy are annoyed, bored, cold, crabby, cranky, critical, cross, detached. So I just love this. This makes me feel really smart and confident as I move through, becoming like a more emotionally intelligent person. So this is a really good thing to teach kids at a young age, like more emotional vocabulary. Let me see here. We went over that. Oh, and the art of experiencing. I think I have that in the ebook I'm going to show you. So this is what we do on our Monday essential emotions discussion is if we're having a really strong emotion. So say like you're in the car and you're in traffic and you're so angry that you're going to be late and you can't believe how the people are driving. You're so angry So what you can do is as you're in the car, you're like, okay, I have this really strong emotion. What am I going to do with it? The art of experiencing is you bring in more of that feeling. So it's counterintuitive because usually we try to avoid our feelings, right? So we're going to say, okay, fine, I'm angry. I'm going to breathe in more anger. And then I'm going to exhale compassion for myself. Now I'm going to think about all the people in the cars around me. They're mad too. I'm going to breathe in their anger. And then I'm going to exhale compassion for them. And then you just keep bringing it in bigger. All the people in the world that are in traffic right now, bring it in. And then exhaling compassion for them. And then like, you don't feel as that it's the sharpness of that emotions is gonna start to dissipate. So it's not that we're like pushing it away, but we're just like helping our body like reprocess, having compassion for ourselves, having compassion for others. And you can do that literally with any emotion. So that is a really helpful tool. And of course, if you're at home, not in the car, then you can go, oh, okay, I'm feeling, let's see. So we can use our essential emotions book. Let me just pick one at random. I'm feeling exhausted. Okay, so now the first oil on the list is basil. So I go, all right, well, if that's the one I need. So say I'm going to pick my basil. I'm going to breathe it in. So now I am calling in the plant medicine that now it's going to come and aid me, and it's going to help me process that feeling like, well, what is it that was making me feel that way? You know, it's going to clarify in my mind so that I can write it down and get it, the energy of it, the storage locker of trauma out of my body and onto the paper. And you breathe it in. I might even look it up afterwards, like, well, what is basil for? And then that's going to help clarify even further, like, oh, well, that makes a lot of sense of what I was feeling right now. Let's see. B. Basil's for renewal. The symptoms of adrenal exhaustion help identify the main moods that are improved with basil, primarily fatigue, low energy, being overwhelmed, and the inability to cope with life's stressors. The smell of basil oil brings strength to the heart and relaxation to the mind. This oil is also excellent for states of nervousness, anxiousness, and despair. Basil oil supports those who are under a great deal of mental strain. It brings rejuvenation of vital forces after long periods of burnout and exhaustion. Basil oil may strengthen the adrenals and restore the body to its natural rhythms of sleep, activity, and rest. Basil oil is also helpful for recovery from negative habits. Ooh, that's why my body has been wanting basil. So you get to learn about the plants and you go, that's why I've been craving that. You get to trust your body. Don't you love like when you crave something healthy and then you read about it, you're like, it's because it has iron in it. And my body needed iron. I love it. I love trusting myself. It's amazing. And that's a huge part of recovering as well. Trusting yourself and then trusting something bigger than you. So I know a lot of people in AA and NA, they get really hung up on the God thing. Because step one is we admitted we were powerless over blank and our lives had become unmanageable. Where's my step book here? And I can tell you step two. I'm waiting for the books to be printed. They're coming on Thursday, but this is the one that I printed at home with my printer and I used all the ink. Okay, so then step two, came to believe a power greater than ourselves could restore us to sanity. So people just get really hung up on that if they didn't grow up with religion or maybe they're scarred by religion. I just had to change the characteristics of my higher power. The things I believed about my God, I just had to change a little bit. Other people, they weren't raised with any kind of religion and they just can't fathom going there. So I think if you remind somebody or if you're thinking to yourself, what's bigger than me? anything that's bigger than you could be God. To me, it's the air around me, it's the universe. How could I possibly be any more powerful than the universe? So people can think like that, you know. A lot of times they call it the God is the consciousness of the fellowship of AA or NA or CODA. They start there. But I'm lucky enough that I had a strong belief system in my own. I just had to tweak it a little bit. So you can use the oils along with each step. I actually researched of which ones go together. So for step 1, it's wild orange and peppermint. The reason I chose those two is because a person needs their spirit to be buoyed. They need to have that stress relief. They need to be uplifted. They made a good decision. So because peppermint is all about helping you to kind of like soften the blow of what's going on in your life. So you don't want to overdo it with peppermint because you can kind of go into avoidance of feelings there. But someone in step 1 needs that little lift, you know, like it's okay. Step 2, we came to believe a power greater than ourselves restored us to sanity. It's frankincense and deep blue. So deep blue is all about releasing the pain in your body, mental and physical. And then frankincense is connecting with your higher power. It's all about that father connection. That's why I chose those two for step 2. And usually somebody's going through withdrawal, let's be honest. So I put deep blue so that they would feel better. Step 3, they made a decision to turn our will and our lives over to the care of God as we understood God. So this is that serenity prayer. This is the, you know, we admitted we were, wait, I can't even think. Someone say the serenity prayer. It's gone out of my brain. Come on. Someone knows it.
Yeah, God grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change,
Yes.
the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference.
Thank you. Yeah. So that's what that is. So step 3 is all about turning it over to God. And in the situation when I'm talking to someone on the phone and I really wish that I could get them to get something, but you can't make people get something. That's me trying to control them. That's out of my control. I can't control other people. So I chose grounding blend. So that's balance. And I chose on guard. Balance and on guard, because you need to be able to protect yourself and you need to be grounded in who you are. So those two, it's so like, okay, I'm over here, you're over there. This is all I need. God's got me, you know? Step 4, we made a searching and fearless moral inventory of ourselves. This is hard. This is very hard. When we do an inventory, you put somebody's name at the top and you're going to write down everything you did to them and everything they did to you. So it's a hard list to do. And you go through everybody important in your life. Everybody gets their own page. They might need several pages. Then you do your sex inventory. Then you do your fear inventory. There's many different kinds of inventory. So in this process, people are really afraid and they're really angry. So they need a soft landing. So, and it's all in the chest, even just talking about it. Can you guys feel it? Where did you feel it when I was talking about that? Did you guys feel it anywhere else in the throat?
Kim, I felt it in my neck. like
Okay.
right here.
So it was a weight on you.
A weight, definitely.
Yeah, for me, it's like, it makes me go like, because I know it's going to hurt. Because there's so many things that happened, you know, that were really hurtful. So I put cardamom and lavender. That's for step 4. It's for opening up our breathing. It's for opening up communication. It's for relieving that anger at yourself. So much anger at yourself. How would you be who you are if you didn't go through what you went through? You know? So it's accepting the past. That's cardamom and lavender for step 4. Step 5, admitted to God, to ourselves, and to another human being the exact nature of our wrongs. This is where you got to tell someone else. So it could be a sponsor, it could be a counselor, it could be a trusted friend. So, I mean, this one is actually going to be like, it relieves, you're taking a burden off of yourself. So I used Aroma Touch blend. That's the massage blend. It's for stress relief. It's like, oh, like I could take off this backpack of all this stuff I've been carrying around. And now it's like I just had a massage and I'm free. So it's really amazing when you put the work in and you wrote it down and you let yourself go there. It's so interesting with speaking with my PTSD therapist. He said that you can transcend your trauma if you write it down and let yourself feel what you felt then. And I've been doing it and it is hard. I need my oils for this. I'm not doing this without oils. So I use the Aroma Touch for that. Now, step 6, became entirely ready to have God remove all these defects of character. So during the 12-step process in the books, it talks about defects of character. So this is like procrastination, blaming others for stuff, or being afraid of other people's emotions. There's a whole list. I have it in my workbook in the online course of all the things that can be considered shortcomings. So that's not to say that they're going to be removed right away, but you're becoming ready. Like, okay, I'm going to give this up. I know that it's really easy for me to go into victim mentality, because if I'm the victim, then I don't have to take responsibility for some things. Even if I am the victim, every day I have to take responsibility for my life. So that was one of my really big ones that I was like, am I ready to let that one go? You know, I'm not sure. So I had to think about it a while. But for that one, it's tea tree and neroli. Tea tree helps you to cut away from old behavior. And neroli is for surrender. So that's why I use tea tree and neroli all over my jaw and my face and my forearms. Neroli helps you let go of control. And tea tree is all about releasing old stuff. So that's why I picked those two. Number 7, or step 7, humbly ask him to remove our shortcomings. So this is the prayer. This is when you're like, okay, I'm going to let it go. I really am I'm ready for God to help me let this go. That's not for the expectation of once I sincerely made the prayer, then, oh, it's gone now. No, you make your offering, and then just someday you're like, wow, I stopped doing that thing. And then you get to thank your higher power. God, thank you for helping me stop doing that thing. What a miracle. So for step 7, I used neroli and copaiba. So copaiba is all about connecting with your past and letting it go. And it's also another connection to higher power. And then neroli, I just kept needing neroli for that releasing of control. So that was how come I put those two together again. Step 8, we made a list of all the persons we had harmed and became willing to make amends to them all. So for this, I mean, you can go back and look at your inventory and go, okay, who are the people that I wrote down? And you can go from there and just start a fresh list. Go, who is it that I need to say sorry to? Who would it harm more if I were to reach out? Like there's, wouldn't be good to do that. Then you can do what's called a working amends. Like it wouldn't be good for me to talk to my kids and be like, yeah, I used to drive drunk sometimes with you in the car. Like that wouldn't be a good conversation. So my working amends is I just don't ever do that ever again. Right? So there's things, that you just don't go there, and then you're just going to process it by writing it down. And then there's the people that you actually need to say sorry to, So for that, we're going to use Aroma Touch lavender and tea tree. So what I'm doing for this, I'm like literally rubbing it all over my face and my neck and my shoulders because it's so hard to write this down. It's like eating crow. You're majorly eating crow. Okay, so step 9, we made direct amends to such people wherever possible, except for when to do so would injure them or others. So, I mean, you just kind of go down the list. I've talked with people about how they did this. It might even just be a text and say, hey, do you have a minute? I just wanted to apologize to you for something. People love getting apologized. Like they want an apology. They're like, oh, what do you want to apologize to me for? So you wouldn't say, oh, do you have a minute? I have something to talk to you about. Because now they're going to go, what did I do? I did something wrong. Don't ever text someone. Just say, I just have something I want to apologize to you for. And then you can just say it and it makes it easy. So for that, we did aroma touch and balance. I tried, you're going to notice there's a theme. I tried to get to this to stay in the aroma touch kit. This is the old one, so the little bottles. So my 12-step thing is going to stick within the kit, except there's, I think, 4 or 5 extra oils that I added in. Let's see, I wrote a little list for myself here. It's copaiba, neroli, cardamom. I'll tell you there's extras in there. Adaptive. Step 10, continue to take personal inventory, and when we were wrong, promptly admitted it. For that, we use adaptive blend. So you do your step 10 at night. You can do it any time of day, but I do it at night. So it's when you're going to talk to God. This is when you're praying. You go, God, would you rewatch today with me? You invite your higher power to replay the day so that you're not doing it alone. So it's you and God, and you're like, oh, okay, that happened, that happened. So a lot of good things might have happened. Maybe like something happened that you wish you hadn't done. Then at that point, you can travel to that moment with God and talk to your younger self, even if it was just a couple hours ago, and go, oh, okay, like, so it's not your fault. Like, this is how we'll do it next time. And then hug yourself, kind of like Back to the Future. You're like, hi, okay, good job. We worked through it. Thanks God for doing it with me. That's how you do your step 10 at night. Okay. So it's not so scary. And then if you need to say sorry to the person the next day, you can, but you might not be able to, because what if it's somebody you don't know, you know? Okay, step 11, we sought through prayer and meditation to improve our conscious contact with God as we understood God, praying only for knowledge of his or her will for us and the power to carry that out. So every day we sit and we meditate. So I think Jeannie, you do the your morning miracle morning. It's like the thing in the morning that you're going to sit and you're like, I'm going to give myself 5 to 10 minutes to just sit and breathe. And I'm going to connect with myself, with nature, with God. So that way you're going to have more compassion and you're not going to be as reactive and be triggered so easily. Like, why would they do that? I can't believe it. It's like, you'll be more like Zen. Go, oh, that's so interesting. That's, different point of view or whatever. Like, it's not my point of view. I don't have to react to everybody around me. I can just be safe and be right here, So that's what that morning time is going to do for you, is just set the tone. Just give yourself 5 minutes. So, and for that, I used frankincense and yarrow. So I'm going to take the oils in my hand. You should see my desk. It's just like covered in oils. So like, it's not organized at all. And I just grab what I need and I lay on my floor and I breathe in the oils. Step 12, having had a spiritual awakening as a result of these steps, we tried to carry this message to other men and women seeking recovery and to practice these principles in all our affairs. So it's like bringing it all back together, full circle. We do wild orange and peppermint again, because it's like, you did it, It's really amazing when you finish the 12 steps. I've gone through it twice. And it's real interesting. First with Alcoholics Anonymous, and then I did it with, actually I've almost done it 3 times. I went through Codependence Anonymous and also ACA. I'm working through the ACA book now. But I took all the best parts of all these different fellowships, and that's what I put in my online program and the book that I wrote. So that's basically how that went. But I would love to show you guys. I'm going to share my screen and show you the holistic tools for early recovery and self-care. Let me share. Can you guys see my screen? Yeah, okay. So this is the ebook that me and Dina put together. It's really pretty. So this will be available on my website. You guys can download it or I can send it to you. So it just goes through my story for relatability. And if you want to take a picture of this, these are the QR codes that lead to the YouTube videos that I made that are for like explaining for withdrawal symptom support. But I can also just send you this ebook if you want. But I made it like this so that if it were printed out, people can just scan it. But as a live ebook, you can just click the link and it'll go straight to YouTube. So it's really important that people get that information, especially people who are committed to a holistic recovery, that they're like not interested in, going to rehab and getting pumped full of, psych meds that are not going to be helpful. There's a lot of people that are like, no, that's what I want, but that's not what my program is for. My program is for people that are like, no, I don't want that. You're like, okay, so then let's do this, So I'm not here to convince anybody like, oh, rehab is bad. Like rehab definitely has its place for the right people. Mine is for people who are afraid of the medical community. And they're like, no, I don't want that. I want this. So this is my explanation of why using doTERRA. So this is about lemon and drinking it in your water. You wouldn't want to use any other company because it's basically perfume made in a lab. We want the oil that actually came from that fruit or herb or wood or petal. And we want it to be tested to make sure it's safe so that you're only going to get that with doTERRA. This is my protocol. So I wrote this out because I have gone through withdrawals many times. And this is how I got through it. And I highly recommend if anyone is going through like rough stuff, they can get through it naturally this way. And they definitely still should talk to a doctor and all that, because I'm not a doctor and nothing I said is FDA approved. This is just me talking about how to help. So with this protocol, I took turmeric, adaptive, copaiba, and the omegas. So in the first week or so, you do one of each 3 times a day, and then 2 omegas. And that's really going to help you get through those bad symptoms of, if you've ever seen somebody go through it, it's shaking, it's major headaches. If you're not muted, go ahead and mute yourself. Oh, what else is there? I mean, it's like horrendous anxiety. Like you don't even know what to do with that amount of anxiety. It's insomnia, so much fear. So it just really helps to get those physical symptoms down so that you can just like focus on getting through minute to minute. And then let's see. So these are really important. Let me keep moving here. So with the adaptive system, this is what you're going to be wanting to take morning and night. So 1 adaptive capsule morning and night. Use the roller on your forearms, in the back of the neck, and keep diffusing it. So those are really important for that. I love the aroma touch technique. I mean, anytime you guys have ever experienced it, like if you had the flu or something, like how much relief you got it in your body. So somebody going through withdrawal, they're going to want to do this like once a day, or if someone will do it twice a day for that whole first week, do it to yourself. If you're lucky, you got somebody that can do it for you. So I have this all nice and printed out so you guys can print it for yourself and have these tools. something that's really, really helpful for cravings, because a lot of specifically, like I don't know how to speak to someone going through like withdrawal, but for me, for alcohol withdrawal, there's a sugar craving that happens because your body's so used to getting that high volume of sugar. So I'll do the ginger lemon drops that doTERRA makes. That's like something to like keep your mouth busy. That's really helpful. And then the greens and fiber. So keeping your blood sugar even, because in recovery, they talk about something called hungry, angry, lonely, tired. So you have to make sure you don't get hungry, angry, lonely, or tired, because that's when people relapse or they start feeling like how they used to. Hold on, let me let Teddy back in. Come on, Teddy. So making sure that your body's blood sugar is good. And of course, you guys know I'm going to start talking about MetaPower because that's all about blood sugar. So you can do protein powder. You can do a scoop of fiber, scoop of greens, put it in your water and mix it up. And that's really going to help. And then this, oh my gosh. So the whole MetaPower system, this is amazing for people in recovery. So it's going to be helping with that, with the cravings. That is the biggest thing that people are worried about. It's going to help with sleep. It's going to help with physical pain. It's just amazing. And then, of course, now people are getting back on track and they want to take care of themselves. So they want liver health. They want to start like managing their weight. They want to be their best self, And then natural pain support. So we're going to do turmeric, copaiba, omega, and deep blue. So if you're in bad shape, you do 2 of each and you can do it 2 to 3 times a day. But I'll tell you what, I wrote this before I got all of my relief from MetaPower. All I need is MetaPower now. It's like, I used to have to do this, but when you're going through that early recovery, your body is so depleted from all your minerals and vitamins and good stuff. So you got to put all this stuff back in. So it's a good thing to have this so that you can feel better. These are the oils that I really depend on in that early recovery. You got to have deep blue stick, deep blue oil, aroma touch, lemongrass, Siberian fir, copaiba, wintergreen. And these are the core supplements that I recommend to people. If you want a picture of that, or I'll just send you the ebook so you have it. Are you guys like so excited about this is available? There's nobody else that teaches essential oils for addiction. There's been worksheets in the past, but it wasn't written by somebody with a problem that actually used it for that reason. When I used to Google essential oils for addiction, it would usually be like a rehab that wrote an article, and it was like rosemary and peppermint. And I'm like, well, but how did you use it? This is all laid out. So I'm real proud of myself. And I'm glad that I get to share it with you guys and the doTERRA community and people that need it. So I love you suggesting the digestive soft gels. People like me who abuse their body, your liver hurts. And those digestin soft gels take away that pain. And then the oil, you massage it over the abdomen, you put it all over your liver. Peppermint beadlets, that's just like keeping your energy up because you're just so tired and depleted, and it's getting your digestion going again. And then the Terrazyme. So you need enzymes for every system of your body. So that's just going to help start moving out the sludge, from your liver and get your digestive going. Probiotics, of course, that's going to be really good for brain and gut health, and everything to do with addiction is like screwed up your brain and gut health. So we got to get that back in. And then we talked about the greens and fiber for sugar stuff, but it's also what people don't realize is that fiber is like the fish food to your little fishes. So all of your good bacteria and everything that's going on, if they were little fishes, then fiber is your fish food. You need to feed them. so that you can keep all of your system moving. So like imagine, like the septic tank, in your outside your house. So the septic tank, they put like all this enzyme stuff in there so that, as people are using the toilet and flushing, it's not just like becoming cement and getting blocked. It's got its own ecosystem in there. It's the same concept. Lemon, we know, helps clean the liver and support healthy function. So drinking at least 1 drop in your water is really important. Make sure it's glass or porcelain, no plastic. Is this a repeat? I think that might be a repeat. Yeah, that's just a good picture of all that. Okay, so here's restful sleep. So like I said, the MetaPower took care of my sleep issue. But for people that need that added support, then you can be using Adaptive and Serenity. You can use the oil. I like to rub it on my forearms and rub it on the back of my neck. Use it in the diffuser by the bed. I still take Adaptive. I take 2 at night because that's kind of like how I regulate my emotions that way too. Bath therapy is so important. I mean, people, they have to kind of like write out a list of what are going to be their coping tools. So for me, taking a bath is like really high on my list. If I can't handle something, and in the past I would have been like, F it and go drink, I'm just going to go take a bath. Baths make everything better. You can think of something, that really works for you. For me now, I don't need to actually distract myself. Now I'm like, oh, okay, so what is it I'm feeling right now? Like I want to go to the next level. I don't want to like avoid it. I want to go, oh, I'm feeling this. And I'll look at my vocabulary list and say, oh, I'm feeling forlorn or sorrowful or weepy, world weary, like a really granulated emotional vocabulary. I just put together some bath blends. So lavender, balance, and your Epsom salt or pink salt. You can do tea tree, copaiba, frankincense, serenity and balance. I do serenity and balance a lot. I do that with my kids too. So that thing we did in the beginning about the art of experiencing, where we bring in the emotions and then we exhale out compassion, that is this. So you'll have this in the worksheet so that you can print this out. So I have that all written out, and I have here like what oil goes for each. For anger, neroli, patchouli, lime, lavender, cardamom. The gifts of anger: honor, conviction, healthy self-esteem, proper boundaries, healthy detachment, protection of yourself and others. I would add anger. It teaches you what you value most. That's what anger tells you. So like I was talking to somebody yesterday and she said, I would never unfriend somebody for their political views on Facebook. And I go, okay, so now I know what you value. Understanding. So like stuff like that, like you can start to see like the wisdom of your anger, like for me, one of the things that really makes me mad is when people aren't willing and they don't have curiosity. They're like, no, decision made. That's how I think. And I go, really? Because I don't think inside the box at all. If you know me, I'm really weird and I love thinking outside the box. So like, it's funny. I don't know. I love actually talking about anger. Anxiety. I was driving on the freeway over the weekend and it was so rainy. It was foggy and rainy and people were driving with their hazards. And if another instance, like my friend Jeannie's in this meeting, knows that really freaks me out driving. But what I did with that anxiety is, oh, this anxiety is here to help me focus. That's what it was for. It had a reason. It was to keep me alive. So I told myself, oh, I need this anxiety. It's to help keep me alive. It's to keep me focused and present in this moment. And then that way I don't like shame myself for like, oh, well, I'm just this anxious person and like poor me, like go back in my victim mentality. So you can start to learn what do your feelings mean, and you won't be afraid of them anymore. So my friend Dina did all this beautiful work to make this all nice. So as we went through this, and we used the Essential Emotions book, this is the Essential Emotions Breakthrough Worksheet. So you can print this out and do it yourself, but I highly recommend like having a partner. So you can, have me do it. I'm a coach, or you can just do it with a partner. So that way it's kind of, you get that feedback. So you just fill out this sheet and you follow through the book, which I really love. So I recommend to people going through the 12 steps to fill out one of these every time they sit down to work on their steps, because then it's going to help cement them trying to figure out what they're feeling, and they're going to grow that emotional vocabulary and just like end up being amazing and can do anything, because nothing is going to freak them out. Going to be removing all those roadblocks. So here's my references. I really enjoyed doing this with you guys and sharing. And I'm just so happy that you took time to come and be with me so that I could share this with you. This is the QR for the weekly meeting. I love Carla McClellan, The Language of Emotions. It's where you can learn more about your feelings. Loving What Is by Byron Katie. She's also got an app that you can journal with that's really helpful. The Road Less Traveled by Dr. Scott Peck. Codependency No More. And then these are the two places that I like to attend meetings. So Y12SR is yoga and the 12 steps. So if you're like want to have some healthy movement with a meeting, I would highly recommend that. And then In the Rooms is going to have like a whole buffet of meetings, like every kind of meeting you can think of. And then of course there's my meeting, which is every Monday. So that's it. And then I have on, let me pull up if you go to my website, kimureta.com, then you'll see where my online course is at. And my book will be available soon. A case of them are being shipped to my house right now. So then I'll be able to start sending those out to people that would want the hard copy versus the online course. So we could do Q&A now, so I could stop share and see what you guys, if you'd like to ask a question or make a comment.
That was amazing. I'm grateful. I mean, I was super excited about the online, like from the Monday class, how you sent that to us. So that was super helpful. What I really appreciated is how you kind of picked the oils for me that with me step. That was kind of a cheat sheet. But my question was, today you were talking about like these addictions that we go through. It's not about willpower or lack of integrity, because I really struggle with that. Like, I'm like, what's wrong with you? Like, it's like I look outside of myself and I'm like, what are you doing? For me, it's mainly weight. And that's what's really interesting. Like when you talked about how people may start off with this and they start off with that, I think I went backwards. Like I overspend and, so the overeating thing that's kind of like a new thing. It's one thing but when it starts to be like totally out of control, it's like, wow. So it's like, it's one thing if you don't know what you're doing. So that's why it's hard when I think about, because I do feel a lack of integrity or what's wrong with me. Why can't I get it together? So I was just curious, how else can you feel other than that if you know better, So that was my question.
Dude, I know exactly how you feel. I know better, and I do the wrong thing. Dina and I are going to teach a class about emotional eating. So that's not tomorrow, it's next Wednesday, right? I think so. Yeah.
I believe so. Tomorrow is manifesting.
That's going to be a really good one.
Yeah.
I've seen the sneak peek because Dina did the worksheets for it. Oh, it's good. It's really good. So for the emotional eating stuff, I mean, that's a whole nother animal. Because there's so much where people are afraid of not getting enough,
Mm.
you know? But we live in America. So Dina helped me because I was feeling really afraid about that because I like to eat snack at night. And when I tell myself I can't, I will do it anyway, like as a rebellion. So we're going to talk all about that.
Nice, thank you.
Yeah. Do you have any questions or comments?
I'm just about the emotional eating, because I've done a lot of it, a lot of personal research on it, because I know that in my family, food and eating was a way to stuff emotion down. And I've actually come to the conclusion for myself personally that it's very difficult for me to actually have a meal with my dad and his wife because there's so much emotion that I'm feeling, but I'm eating and I know I'm stuffing it down because I'm eating. So I had to like create a demarcation boundary with, and I haven't explained exactly why, but I've said, no, I need to eat my meal between 11 and 3, my biggest meal, so I can't have dinner. And so I'm not telling them exactly because I don't know that there'll be clear understanding of it. But I really had to like face that in the last few weeks, that I don't want to eat when I'm agitated and upset, because I realize I'm actually stuffing down that emotion. And believe me, that's difficult. You know, one of my favorite expressions is when we eat sweets and sugar, it's because life is not that sweet right now. So I just wanted to share. Thank you, Kim.
Oh, Lisa, I do love you. To get you to come down and come in my jacuzzi.
Oh God, you have no idea what it's been like up here.
Yeah, I know. That's how I'm gonna get you. She lives in the mountains where it's really cold.
And so much ice and slush.
Yep, I get it. Would anyone else like to share or make a comment or a question?
I just wanted to say that, you know, when just doing that thing with you, with the oil and everything, I wanted to go do my addiction of choice, and it all went away just doing that. So I just had to comment. Thank you.
Oh, yay. I'm glad it worked.
It was good.
Well, why don't we all just take a breath? So I love doing this at the end of a meeting. So just you can come up and exhale and a heart. Thank you for showing up for yourself, and thank you for showing up for us. You guys have a beautiful evening.
Thanks, Kim.
Thank you.
It was great.